Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Oompa Loompas, or the Oompa Loompas, or whatever the hell these things are called. Essentially, it's a name that was thrown to my head that depicts those people from Willy Wonka's candy factory, the Oompa Loompas, the Loompa Loompa, I don't know what they're called. And they're his little helpers, sort of like minions are, on Despicable Me, those little yellow guys. Well, the Oompa Loompas are the handy workers that helped Willy Wonka make his chocolate factory great. And it's a term that the domain commander I don't even know the right word for it, gave me to identify this other species that I know nothing about, nobody else knows anything at all about. So if you look at regular lore, the ET lore, UFO lore, extraterrestrial lore, spiritual lore, all this kind of lore, you'll hear lots of stuff about reptilians, Pleiadians, all kinds of stuff about Zeta Ricarlians, and all kinds of nonsense like that. Nothing like that. Nobody knows what these things are. But I do. These creatures, these Oompa Loompas, are assisting a domain in a repair and reconfiguration of this Earth environment. And today, I want to tell you what I know about them. This may be additional information, or it may be a rehash of old information. I'm just going to tell you what these things are. Okay? Fair enough? Okay, so the first thing I have to tell you is, as far as I know, Majestic knows nothing about them. I can also tell you that I think I'm the only one who knows anything at all about them. And in all cases, this information that is provided to me is provided to help me understand situations, and is not intended to alter people's ways of thought in any way, shape, or form. It is just raw information to help me personally, get a better understanding of what's going on. These creatures, Oompa Loompas, is what the name that is sticking, and so I am going to use it. They do not look like them. They do not look like the television imagery of anything like that. The impression I get is like these large slug-like creatures. There was a Star Trek episode where there was these large slug-like creatures that burrowed under the ground, and they laid these round eggs. It's a Star Trek, the first series. And they're kind of like that. I'm not saying that they burrowed under the ground or anything, but they're kind of like that. That's kind of what they physically look like when they manifest. First of all, they are multidimensional creatures. They are not like we are humans with a consciousness that is trapped within a physical world. They are, as far as I understand it, full consciousnesses. Remember I talked about the triad. You have consciousness, a Jesus-like or intermediary state, and then you have the God state. The impression I get at the bare minimum is that it's the intermediary plus the Jesus state combined. Okay, and they are involved in handling a lot of the background, the underlying structure regarding this situation. We humans think that physical is all there is. With every physical element, there is a non-physical component. Anybody who lucid dreaming can tell you that. And how they see that and transpire that depends on their thoughts and everything. But there's this underlying component to every physical thing. And these Oompa Loompas have the ability to alter these underlying structures. And I've mentioned this in other ways, like for instance, I've talked about world line templates, and I've talked about how world line templates have a master template and then a fundamental template and all this stuff. And I use the examples that these are underlying structures. And well, the Oompa Loompas are the ones that can control and alter this underlying structure, and that's what they're doing. We won't really see or notice anything because the underlying structure that lies beneath the surface is something that's transparent to us. We can't see it, but it exists nevertheless. And this is what they're doing. And they've been working on this at least 20 years. Domain came about and really started changing things around the 1940s, and they established their colony, if you will, over in Asia. United States, they met with the United States, and we had Majestic and all this stuff. But during this period of time, the Oompa Loompas have been working with them, reestablishing the underlying baselines for all this stuff. I cannot tell you what this species looks like or how they interact or how they talk or anything like that. I have no idea. I can't imagine how a creature that doesn't have arms, legs, or eyes or anything can do anything, but it shows how much I know, right? But they're involved in the reorganization of the fundamental underlying structure within our reality. And like all physical and non-physical creatures, you can communicate with them. I've never tried. I don't know what to say if I could. I think their plans are far too gargantuan for such a puny person as myself to ask questions about. But if you can imagine a bunch of minions with hard hats, minions from Despicable Me, those little yellow guys running around, and organizing things, only not so fucked up, and just doing things. You can get an idea and grasp for these Oompa Loompas. They are a dedicated bunch. They are subservient bunch to purpose. Subservient to purpose. They have an organizational hierarchy. They are working with domain as equals. That's all we need to know, right? That's all we need to know. And I think much of what I've said before is pretty much, you could have inferred that from the other writings that I had and other discussions I had with Commander about this kind of stuff. It's nothing really that big. But think of it in terms of a dedicated crew that's really working behind the scenes to undo the wrongs and set up the rights. They're not paramilitary. They're not, getting rid of nests of spiders or anything like that. That's not what they're doing. They're They're taking existing structure, making replacement structures, and then swapping them out. So if you can imagine, imagine a grid work, a bridge, just a bridge, a regular everyday bridge. And it's a metal on a frame. And the frame sits upon these large cement columns. So what they're doing is they're taking the one column, taking it out, building a brand new column. But in order to do that now, they have to make these temporary columns that the bridge is going to sit upon. And that's what they're doing. That's most of what they're doing. So they're reorganizing the underlying structure, getting rid of the old, replacing it with new, and it's a long, drawn-out process precisely because they have to make temporary structures in place. They're also a very humane entity, and they only want the good for everybody. Oompa Loompas. That's today's little discussion. I wish I could tell you more about them. That's about all I got. It's kind of bumpkiss a little bit, but I hope it helps you. Take care, people. And again, for you people on Patreon, I appreciate you. You know, Patreon is not... Patreon is funding Metallic Man, funding the YouTube, and funding Patreon. Donations on everything else dried up. So the only way to keep MM running and all this other stuff running is through Patreon. You are the guys that are supporting all the other people that are just kind of leeching off the stuff. Leeching's not a good word. It gets the stuff for free. You're supporting it. And I want to thank you for it. I want to thank you for being there and being helpful to me. And I hope that this little video gives you some insight how I appreciate you're on Patreon, and give you some information of stuff that you didn't know about and you won't find on the internet. Okay? Take care, people, and know I believe in you.